to Mojo Plays, and the golden age of licensed video games may well and truly be over, but that doesn't mean that developers aren't still pumping them out for a quick cash grab.
Good luck trying to ruin this game. I'm sure you'll manage.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. Planet of the Apes: Last Frontier. The reboot of the Planet of the Apes series has proven to rival that of the originals and in some respects surpass them. But sadly, the video game adaptation didn't measure up to the film counterparts. Even calling this title a game is a reach, as it's more like an interactive movie with various choices than anything resembling real gameplay. Taking place between the events of Dawn and War for the Planet of the Apes, players follow a tribe separate from Caesar's, as well as a group of human survivors, and the choices the player makes can result in different outcomes and relationship statuses with the various characters the player interacts with. Yet, despite the impressive graphics as well as Andy Serkis's involvement, The Last Frontier just couldn't nail the landing and ended up losing the war before it even began.
We go home.
Ghostbusters.
My name is Cecil Belskin, and I'm the curator of the Aldridge Museum. I'm afraid we have a ghost situation again.
It's honestly a stretch to call this a tie-in game, as it features none of the film's characters or plot or any sort of connection to the movie, but it was released to coincide with the 2016 Ghostbusters, so it does technically count. A twin-stick shooter, you and up to 3 of your soon-to-be ex-friends can slog your way through uninspired and ugly levels, horrible characters, and unfunny humor, all for the low price of $50 at launch. Presented as more of a hero shooter reskinned as a Ghostbusters game, there's very little that even evokes the feeling of a Ghostbusters experience besides the characters' uniforms and the game telling you it's a Ghostbusters game. Not only would the game have been better off left in the spirit realm to begin with, the developer Fireforge Games filed for bankruptcy only 3 days after its release and joined the game in the afterlife.
Ghostbusters? Yes, Mom, it's a real word.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Mutants in Manhattan.
Let's move.
Maybe just anchovies?
Which should have been a match made in heaven of the Heroes in a Half Shell and Platinum Games, known for their stellar Bayonetta series, ended up stinking worse than the sewers the Turtles call home. With uninspired combat, boring boss fights, bland level design, and a quite honestly unsettling redesign for the Turtles, the lack of a couch co-op multiplayer was the least of this title's problems. Mutants in Manhattan just screams cash grab, and doesn't come anywhere close to the quality fans have come to expect from both properties. The only saving grace of the game is that it's relatively short.
You green dweebs think you got the best of old Bebop, do you? Well, you're all wrong. 'Cause Bebop's the best there is!
Rambo the video game.
The chopper's coming. We just need to stay alive.
After First Blood, the Rambo series became increasingly more over the top, focused more on turning Rambo into an action hero rather than the PTSD-stricken vet he was in the first movie. But still, the prospect of becoming Rambo and reliving the original trilogy was intriguing enough of a prospect that the game should have been an easy, albeit shallow, way to kill some time. However, instead of giving players the definitive Rambo experience, developer Teyon locked Rambo to an on-rails shooter with ridiculous and unexciting QuickTime events to give players the sense that their actions had any kind of meaning. Coupled with PS2 quality graphics and a myriad of bugs and glitches, the player is more likely to experience Rambo's PTSD than any of his true action hero moments.
We could have killed them all. I could have killed you. Now you're the law. Now give it to me.
South Park Snow Day.
So, as you can see, we've had to make some changes to the game because some asshole who we won't name decided to become all-powerful and ruin Stick of Truth because then everyone wanted to be all powerful and nobody could die anymore. So then we played superheroes, and guess what happened? That same someone got all OP again and fucking ruined that game too.
South Park experienced a renaissance in gaming with back-to-back bangers The Stick of Truth and The Fractured But Whole. But their latest release skews closer to the N64 garbage players were subjected to in the series' infancy. Swapping the near-perfect recreation of the show's art style for bland 3D models that don't capture the same energy as the previous two titles and are instead lifeless representations of the familiar South Park residents. Everything from the humor to the gameplay just feels phoned in, and instead of having the entirety of South Park to explore, players are limited to basic combat arenas barely indistinguishable from one another. With recycled dialogue and the series' trademark humor severely toned down, Snow Day barely feels like a South Park game at all, and is a severe step down from the quality that fans have come to expect.
Settle down, everyone. One at a time. You're all acting crazy. It's a snowstorm. It's not the apocalypse. The end is nigh, everyone. It's the apocalypse. Repent before it's too late.
Fast and Furious Crossroads.
They want to play with fire? And let's turn up the heat.
It's almost shocking the Fast and Furious series hasn't seen a slew of video game tie-ins over the franchise's 2-decade-long race to the finish line. But if they all could have turned out like Crossroads, we should consider ourselves lucky. From developers Slightly Mad Studios, whose credits include the Project Cars and Need for Speed series, the actual gameplay is remarkably bland, especially based on a series that continually pushes the envelope of believability. Not even the numerous gadgets and unlockable vehicles from the franchise's history can make the gameplay remotely as entertaining as the movies. With abysmal mechanics, a bland and uninteresting story full of dull new characters, even Vin Diesel and Michelle Rodriguez seem to be phoning in their performances, even by the film standards, leaving very little, if anything, for the most die-hard fans to find enjoyable about the game.
You do know that I was behind you this whole time just watching your back.
More like guarding your own backside.
So what did I miss?
The Lord of the Rings, Gollum.
Leave us. I want to hear what he has to say.
Out of all the games on our list so far, this is the one with the biggest question of, who wanted this? Admittedly, Gollum has become a pop culture icon due to Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings movies and Andy Serkis's brilliant portrayal of the tortured and jewelry-obsessed creature, but no one, and I do mean no one, was really clamoring for more of Gollum's backstory, especially one not written by Tolkien himself. Already facing an uphill battle, the game was delayed numerous times and still released with so many bugs and glitches that it made the game nearly unplayable even with subsequent updates. Horrendous gameplay, muddy and blurry graphics, a completely unnecessary and nonsensical story, The Lord of the Rings Gollum turned out to be even more of a disaster than anyone could have predicted, and was so horribly received, the studio even gave up on creating games altogether.
We have friends now, strong friends, powerful friends, and they will not be nice like us, not nice.
I have not traveled these many miles to listen to your lies.
Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League.
Eyes up, people.
What does that mean?
Shoot the damn things.
Our expectations were low, but holy shit. The Batman Arkham games are not only some of the best superhero games ever created, but also some of the most influential in the industry, and Rocksteady has become renowned for their tight single-player experiences with the Arkham trilogy. So why then would they take all that player goodwill and churn out one of the worst and most insulting live service games of the last decade? Arkham Knight released in 2015, and we waited 9 years for this? Besides the story's mistreatment of beloved characters, the game itself was just a microtransaction, battle pass-laden mess with no clear roadmap for their upcoming seasons, besides rinse and repeat gameplay that stopped being fun after the first 15 minutes. There's almost nothing redeeming about another sorry excuse of a game simply created for no reason other than corporate greed.
You've already lost, Luther. I am vengeance. I am...
Marvel's Avengers.
I know, I I look ridiculous.
Yeah, of course you do.
Man.
No, we all do. It's part of the job.
The poster child for failed live service games, Marvel's Avengers had the potential to stand alongside the recent high mark of Insomniac's Spider-Man had the game simply been a polished single-player experience. However, Square Enix decided to set the IP on fire before it even had a chance and forced another studio known for their single-player experiences into creating and maintaining a live service game featuring some of the most iconic and popular superheroes of all time. Bogged down by a ridiculous number of currencies for cosmetics that did virtually nothing to change up gameplay, and a battle pass whose cost would make even the whales balk at its absurdity, the surprisingly engaging story was completely overshadowed by corporate decisions, and the game suffered along for an additional 3 years before support for the game was halted and the game was delisted entirely.
We just give up? We didn't give up, Tony. We failed. At least I can admit that.
Everything Game Mill.
Rick, walkers, a mess of them, headed this way.
Oh, Christ.
Many gamers would be surprised to learn that Game Mill has been churning out duds for over 2 decades. But the spotlight of shame has only been shown on them recently with a string of laughable tie-in games throughout 2023. Notorious for giving developers unrealistic deadlines, the horrendous reception of the likes of Skull Island Rise of Kong, The Walking Dead Destinies, and Avatar The Last Airbender Quest for Balance has brought attention to these practices and sympathy for the poor developers forced to work under these conditions. Nearly every game that Game Mill has been involved in has been some kind of easy cash grab licensed game that has negatively affected the property the game is attached to. How and why they continue to be allowed to create these crimes against gaming is beyond all reason.
Well, Prince Zuko, what will you choose?
What was the worst licensed video game you spent your hard-earned money on? Share your regrets in the comments.
I know you think you can use this power for good, but you're no hero. You're just a mistake.
Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips for Mojo Plays, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.